Redditors with real-life butterfly effect stories, what happened and what was the series of events and outcomes. About 20 years ago I was watching a TV show about a guy in Australia who feeds the homeless. At the end they interviewed a few of the homeless who all said he was great, and their names flashed up on the bottom of the screen. One of the guys had the same name as my brother, who I hadn't seen for about 15 years. I looked at the screen, squinted, and there under the dirt and grime was my brother, who was an addict and lost touch with us years ago. I called the TV program and got the name of the feeder guy. He contacted my brother and passed on my phone number. A couple of days later I got a call and told him he could come live with me. And he did. He moved in at my place, then the next morning went up the road to get a newspaper to look for a job. This was about 2000, came back and he'd found someone advertising for English teachers in China. He asked me what I thought. I said, "What have you got to lose?" So off he went. And loved it. Kept telling me to go too, so 6 months later I quit my job, sold my car, moved everything I wanted to keep over to my older brother's place, and left for China. I was there for 18 years. I met a girl, got married, bought an apartment, had 2 kids. Then the Hong Kong troubles came and I moved back to Australia a few months ago. And it all started from watching a TV show and seeing a name I knew. I went to Amsterdam to meet up with friends. On the way back there was a train at the station, but the display didn't show information. I decided to ask a random guy who was entering the train if this was the right one. It was, and we start chatting. Holy shit, this guy is a perfect match for my mom. I asked him he would like to date her. He agreed, because of the unique condition. They had a relationship within a month, lived together within a year. 11 years later still together, married for 4 years. All because of a broken display. Aw, this one is really sweet. Happy for your mom and stepdad that each of their unique situations work together. Some kids bring a puppy home and ask mom, "Can I keep him?" You brought a stepdad home. Awesome. WTF, who just asks, "Hey, wanna be my stepdad?" I was supposed to go to a U2 concert with this girl was friends with, her boyfriend, and a couple other people. I had a knack for getting good seats at shows, so it was up to me to get tickets. She went nuts and accused me of trying to break into her house to clean her carpets while she was in Croatia, so I kept the tickets. They hadn't paid me yet, because I still wanted to go but not with them because they were really good seats. I went to a street fair in town a couple of weeks later and ran into a girl I was friends with from high school who loved U2. I sold her a ticket and she asked if she could bring a friend, which just made me think, woohoo, I'm selling another one of these really pricey tickets. The girls show up at my place day of show and her friend smiles as she is walking in. I saw the smile and knew that was it. I'm going to be spending the rest of my life chasing that smile. Well over 20 years, a couple of kids and dogs later, and as soon as I finish typing this I'm headed to bed to snuggle up next her. TL Doctor, I met my wife because one of my friends went nuts and accused me of trying to clean her carpets while she was in Croatia. Is cleaning the carpets while she was in Croatia code for anything? Because that's one odd thing to be accused of, lol. Mine is about how I met my wife too. I joined the military 2 years after high school. Didn't have any other options because of the recession, didn't want to go into insane debt for a degree I didn't even know if I wanted. So I'm sitting there in the contract office looking at the options they're offering me and it boils down to 5 years or 6. I spent about 30 seconds on it and decided to do 6 because the bonus was a little better and I'd have guaranteed employment for a little longer. All because of a 30 seconds decision I made in a crowded office in 2011. Accused me of trying to clean her carpets while she was in Croatia. This is the sort of expression I'd expect to find on Urban Dictionary. This might be the wrong takeaway, but any suggestions for getting good seats? What a wonderful story. How was the show? Future wife, I think I'm falling for you. OP, I can never love another woman, because I love you too. Future wife, oh, this makes me so happy. It's time to get married. OP? It all started with the first week of my college freshman year. It goes. I drunkenly wandered into a frat party one night and thought, oh fuck, they have a fire pit, that's cool. I joined that fraternity, drank a lot of beer, got the freshman 15, and looked like shit. My roommate suggested that I start boxing with him to get in better shape and to get girls, hint, got 0. A year later I had my first sanctioned amateur boxing bout. 2 years later I won an amateur US national championship. Thanks to that, I became the captain of my college boxing team and dipped into coaching new people. Realized I really fucking liked coaching and teaching people new things. Decided to try becoming a teacher and get my master's in education, applied with a 2.7 GPA lol. Holy shit, I'm a fucking teacher now. Can't imagine a more fun and fulfilling job, all of this because I was really drunk and liked that one frat house with a fire pit. So yeah, moral of that story. I have a fire pit in my backyard now. I had a few teachers with a fire pit in their backyard. Loved all of them. Albeit I admit the connection is most likely rather that I know it because they invited the older courses for a school-out grilling event at theirs. After high school, I attended a community college for a few years. I'm rather introverted and am not good at making new friends, so for most of my first term I basically didn't interact with anyone. I had a 2-hour break between two of my classes, so I started hanging out in the cafeteria because it had chairs and food. One day I saw a guy rocking a blue fedora. This was before the fedora-wearing neckbeard stereotype really became a thing, and also this particular guy is not and never has been a neckbeard in any way, and I complimented him on it. We chatted a little bit and he invited me to join him and his friends who also spent their free time hanging out in the cafeteria. Fedora guy and I dated for a little while, but ultimately we weren't a good fit long-term, though we have remained good friends. The big thing, though, was that he introduced me to an internet discussion forum he was part of. I joined that forum and became a very active member in that community, and made a lot of friends through there. Several years later, I was feeling pretty trapped in where I was in life, working a retail job and barely making ends meet, with no resources to go back to school and no marketable skills to look for other work. A couple from the forums, who lived a good 600 miles from me, offered to let me move in with them and they'd support me while I essentially tried to restart my life. I took them up on their offer, moved from Oregon to California, met a guy I really hit it off with, and am now married and working a job that gives me a great deal of satisfaction. All because I said, "Dude, I like your hat," to a stranger in the cafeteria 15 years ago. On one hand, this is a great story and am glad you shared. On the other, I feel like you are encouraging fedora use. And that's not okay. What forum was it? Sounds like something awful for some reason. I was invited to hang out with an acquaintance who I barely knew freshman year of high school. I wasn't sure if I should go but decided to try it out. We had so much fun, she became my best friend and it led to a regular meetups and we both started bringing in more friends and just got bigger every month with almost 30 people who got together every weekend by senior year. Many of us are still good friends and our lives, spouses, and careers have all been shaped by this group that I honestly don't think would have formed if I hadn't been invited that night freshman year. This is so wholesome, hugging face, such an interesting concept when you think about it. I have a similar story with how I met my best group of friends. Always makes you wonder what kind of things might come from just one seemingly insignificant decision at the time. Was studying abroad in Salamanca, Spain, where I met this random student at a bar and chatted with him for about 30 minutes. I friended him on Facebook the next day. This was early days of Facebook and I was young and excited about social media. I went on to live in a different city for a few months, then went to Madrid, Spain for the summer. Decided to click through to friends in Madrid on Facebook, again, young and excited about social media. On the day I arrived, saw this student from Salamanca was my only contact in the city and decided to message him. He invited me to drinks with friends that night, where I met this random German dude who invited me to his b-day party the next day. I went because I didn't have anything better to do. I ended up dancing with the random German dude's brother, who was there visiting just for his brother's b-day. After the dancing, and some talking, etc., the random German dude's brother and I realized we had a serious connection. We maintained a long-distance relationship from Germany to Spain, then Germany to the USA for a year. We've been married over 8 years now. We had both arrived in Madrid the day before. Up until that point, that 4-day window in Madrid was the only time we had ever been in the same country at the same time. Added for clarity that not still long distance. Also adding, TL, doctor, through a random set of chance meetings and uncharacteristically extroverted behaviors on my part, I met my husband, who I only could have met during one 4-day period when we happened to be in the same country at the same time. Added to, our deep connection was built on discussing Lost while walking around Madrid until 6 a.m. Of course we thought the fact we were both super into Lost meant we were unique and destined to be soulmates, lol. That 4-day window in Madrid is the only time we ever were in the same country at the same time. Is your relationship still long distance? Of course we thought the fact we were both super into Lost meant we were unique and destined to be soulmates. Lol. Well, were you wrong? 5th or 6th grade, I tried to confess to my crush by gifting him a strawberry muffin. I left it in his desk and my plan was to confess I was the one giving the muffin. He ended up having an allergic reaction that caused him to be taken by an ambulance. This caused me to never confess. Fast forward to junior year, we were starting to study the basis of a research project to help with our thesis the following year. His original project partner ended up moving to another part of the country and had to switch schools. So he joined my group. At this point I was over the crush, but it was nice having him as a friend. Then one day that we were working on the project, I don't remember exactly how, But we brought out the topic that we should share a secret with each other to become closer friends. I told him about the muffin and he came out of the closet to me. A couple of weeks later he did it at the school. This caused us to become basically joined by the hip, and he introduced me to his family, and still unknown to me, introduced me to my future BF, his older brother. We have been dating for over 2 years now. So you know the Muffin Man. I'm sorry, but what did you mean with? He came out of the closet to me. A couple of weeks later he did it at the school. I'm sorry, English is not my mother tongue. Does this mean he came out to you as being gay? Anyways, this is a very cute story, thank you for sharing. This is the cutest shit ever. That's so sweet, I'm totally crying now.